The much talked about wedding of the children of the number two citizen of the world's most populous black nation, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, which made headlines in the major news media both at home and abroad for some time now, has finally taken place, and it's indeed lived up to its billing as an event that took a carnival-like proportion. The event, which witnessed perhaps the largest assemblage of dignitaries cutting across ethnic, political, ideological, and religious divides in recent times, was celebrated for close to a week, beginning from Yola, Adamawa State, the home state of the Vice President, ending in Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital and seat of government. In terms of attendance, it was indeed a harvest of goodwill for Vice President Atiku Abubakar, as close to 18 state governors and about 19 deputy governors graced both events, while ministers came in their legion. The events also recorded the esteemed presence of three former heads of states, General Yakubu Gowon, as well as Generals Muhammad Buhari and Ibrahim Babangida, who incidentally traveled to Yola together and also stayed very close to each other throughout the event. Vice President Atiku Abubakar's magnetic aura also attracted two former First Ladies to Abuja and Yola, Their Excellencies Mrs. Nana Rawlings of Ghana and Mrs. Miriam Ibrahim Babangida. Back to the event proper. The first event the BC Olatala show covered was the Mother's Night at the modest home of Adamu Atiku Abubakar's wife in GRA area of Yola. The very simple but memorable event was attended by the wife of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Hajia Masari, wives of about 10 state governors, the deputy governors of Osun and the host state, Adamawa, and other dignitaries. There were lots of Hausa traditional music in the air, and Adamu and his bride danced heartily to this, after which they cut their cake and they called it a day. We also captured the proceedings at the Mother's Night organized for the Vice President's daughter Aisha and her husband Abdullahi Babalele, who took place at the banquet hall of the Government House, Yola. Among other dignitaries present here were the Vice President himself, Honorable Oladosu Oladipo, a long-standing friend of the Vice President, and yours truly. As usual, it was dance, dance and dance by the couple, their friends, relations and loved ones. Just before the wedding fatia, which is the most vital part of any Muslim marriage, which took place at the Lamido's Palace in Yola, got underway, the Vice President, in company of Mr. Boni Haruna, the Governor of Adamawa State, who played the perfect host, received all the dignitaries that came for the event at the Government House, Yola. They all later proceeded in a convoy for the Jumat prayers, since the event fell on a Friday. The Lamido's Palace, which was filled to capacity by important dignitaries from all parts of the world, including the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Alhaji Aminu Bello Masari, and General Bangida, governors, ministers, among others, was venue for the wedding fatia of the Vice President's children, who were getting married, and two of them had also graduated from the Quranic school in Yola. Prayers were said for all of them by Muslim clerics who took their turns. And with the exchange of the bride price by the families on both sides, the marriage between the children of the Vice President and their spouses was happily consummated. The ultra-modern banquet hall in Government House in Yola, which adorned a colorful decoration, was filled to capacity with gaily dressed guests. One color that caught the attention of all at the reception was the pink color which Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku Abubakar and her friends, who came in large numbers from all parts of the world, adorned. The grand entry of the couples, beginning with Adamu and Safina and Aisha and her husband, to the admiration of all the guests who gave them a standing ovation, signaled the commencement of the event. The high point of the Yola wedding reception was the cutting of the wedding cake, and the lot fell on the wife of the Benue State Governor, Mrs. Regina Mary Akume, a very close friend of the family, to conduct the exercise, which she handled perfectly. Of course, the wives of Osun State Governor, Mrs. Omolola Onyalola, and Chief Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu of Lagos State gave testimony as observers. It was then dancing time, and Lagos-based juju music exponent Ade Olushaya was indeed in his elements as he churned out his mesmerizing and scintillating music, which got practically everyone in some kind of frenzy. The high table was a great spectacle to behold as the Vice President, Governor Bola Tinubu, and Boni Haruna decided to do their dancing while sitting, while everyone in their quiet corners in the hall also gyrated to the beat. The couple's dance brought the grand reception to a memorable close. Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Abubakar, wives of governors and other top shots, also graced the dance floor with the couples, who looked very regal, radiant and gorgeous in their attires. Another special aspect of the marriage, according to the Hausa tradition, is the Budan Amaria or unveiling of the bride. Here she is formally welcomed to her husband's family. The bride, adorning a veil, is accompanied by her friends and some family members. The event is performed strictly in Hausa language. Here, Chief Mrs. Titi Atiku Abubakar, accompanied by some governors, wives and other friends, formally received Safina, the new bride, and people took their turns to unveil the bride with various sums of money, clothes and other presents while offering prayers for the success of the union. Of course, Adamu as a groom, accompanied by a legion of his friends, also knelt down before his mother for prayers. A lot of presents of clothing and other items were also given to the groom by well-wishers, and such occasions provide a rare chance to savor the authentic Hausa traditional rhythms. And on hand to provide just that was one of the most popular exponents of that brand of music in the north, Sani Danindo. Of course, other local artists were on hand to chant their normal poems and praises. At the end of the Yola axis of the wedding carnival, Adamu, his friends and other guests left the Yola International Airport in a chartered Chachangi aircraft to Abuja for the grand finale of the wedding. The Abuja axis of the wedding carnival began on Saturday, the 21st of January 2006 at the prestigious Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center, where a special dinner was organized by Adamu's friends for him to bid farewell to the Bachelors Club and be welcomed to the special league of married ones. The friends of the groom, who came from different corners of the globe, turned out in their best outlooks, making bold fashion statements in what they wore. While most of the guys settled for black suits over white shirts, the ladies looked resplendent in their saucy wares that spoke volumes of their taste for the latest styles in vogue. Indeed, for the ladies, it was a fashion parade of some sorts. The bride and the groom also showed that their taste for exquisite dressing cannot be faulted. Adamu's friends indeed spared no effort in giving the groom and his wife the best of time while also savoring the exciting moments themselves. They let down their hairs and had pure unhindered fun. Choice wines and best cuisines flowed freely. The master of ceremonies introduced a few innovations that further enlivened the atmosphere, and the highlight of the night was a human auction which elicited a lot of interest from the guests. The best dressed lady in the estimation of the master of ceremonies and the guy with the best looks were among those auctioned for sale, and the highest bidder in the audience settled for them. There were also a presentation of special awards to some of the most outstanding guests. Everyone left the venue of the special dinner feeling really satisfied that the evening was indeed well spent. The prestigious International Conference Center in Nigeria's federal capital city, Abuja, became the clear choice venue for the grand finale of the wedding carnival, which had spanned about a week for many reasons. Chief among which is abundant space, very attractive stage, very good public address system, and general suitability for functions that would require a large audience. And as it later turned out, it was a huge crowd that descended on the venue, and so any venue that didn't have such capacities would have caved in the face of heavy human traffic. It is evident that the Vice President and his wife, Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku, were really out to give their first son and heir apparent Adamu a superlative wedding which will dominate news headlines for a long time. Before too long, the venue was filled up with gaily dressed ladies and gentlemen from different parts of the world. However, the ladies who wore light blue lace materials with silver color headgears and attachments specially chosen for the event dominated everywhere in the hall, while the men who had silver color caps tried very hard to match the sheer number and elegance of the women. The event proper got underway with the arrival of the Vice President, his wife Titi, Chief Audiogbe and wife, Her Excellency Mrs. Nana Rawlings, former Ghanaian First Lady, Chief Mrs. Marian Babangida and General Mohammed, Chief of Staff to President Obasanjo, President Olusegun Obasanjo, who was attending the 6th summit of the AU in Khartoum, Sudan at that time, was represented by his daughter, Mrs. Iyabo Obasanjo Bello, the Senate President, Senator Kenton Amani, and Chief Solomon Law, as well as the Deputy Governor of Adamawa State, Alhaji Bello Tukur, and his wife were also at the top table. The high table was later beefed up by General Yakubu Gowon and the Secretary to the Federal Government, Sir Ufot Ekaiti, and his wife. Then the directors of ceremonies at the top-scale event, BC Olatilo and Dio Benjamin Lani, set the scene for the commencement of the event with the acknowledgement of the array of dignitaries present at the venue. The grand entry of Adamu and Safina, accompanied by the groomsmen and bridesmaid into the arena, was simply electrifying, and everyone rose on their feet to formally welcome them to the event. A mini dancing competition ensued at this point, to everyone's delight and admiration. When it was time for the opening prayers, the Chief Master of Ceremonies, BC Olatila, opted for the unconventional yet innovative method of prayers by asking everyone to point in the direction of the couple and pour out their heart's desires for them. The chairman of the occasion was one-time Communications Minister and PDP Chairman Chief Audobe, who eloquently brought to the consciousness of everyone at the event the big lesson to be learned in the marriage of the Vice President's son to the daughter of Ambassador Waziri, who contested but lost an election to the Vice President some time ago. The cutting of the wedding cake was jointly supervised by former First Ladies of Nigeria and Ghana, Their Excellencies Mrs. Nana Rawlings and Chief Mrs. Miriam Babangida. It was fun while it lasted. Bosch, a very close friend of the couple, gave the toast of the newly wedded couple, asking everyone to rise and toast to the couple. Clinking of glasses followed later. It was an extremely overwhelmed Adamu that took to the microphone to express his profound gratitude on behalf of his wife and himself to all those who braced all the odds to attend all the events that culminated in the grand finale, praying for Johnny mercies for all of them. The Vice President and his wife, Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku Abubakar, were in top spirits as they led all the dignitaries on the high table and the couple to the dance floor for the bridal dance. Other guests also joined them in the convivial atmosphere. Then came the vote of thanks by the father of the groom, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who was full of praises for his wife, whom he affectionately called Mummy for having stood by him through thick and thin. According to the Vice President, the coordination of the entire event was perfectly done by his wife. He then thanked all those who attended the event, particularly all those who were present for both events. From then on, there were sessions of dancing which involved the bride and groom, Chief Mrs. Amina Titi Atiku Abubakar, Mrs. Nana Rawlings, Chief Mrs. Miriam Babangida, wives of governors, her friends and other guests. Of course, Yinka Efele was totally in charge with his pulsating juju music rhythm.
I think I've known Safina for I have known of her existence for about 5 years now, but nothing happened until about a year and a half ago when we did meet at an uncle's house. It was a function. I noticed her. Obviously, her beauty attracted me, and then I had to dig in for a phone number, which I did get, and then started calling her. Became friends and kind of fell in love. And today, I'm happy to say we're husband and wife.
I've heard a lot about him before then, and I know him right before then. But I ask his friends and my family. Everyone will tell me, oh, he's a very nice person, he's sweet, he's caring.
What kind of family do you intend to bring forth between both of you? In terms of children?
Yeah, I'll also have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And
exactly what he said.
Yeah, and I think it will be a very, I think it will be a happy family, inshallah.
Although she gave out one of her daughters in marriage some time ago, to have one's first son get married must be a great feeling of fulfillment. These were the exact words of Chief Mrs. Titi Atiku Abubakar, mother of the groom, who also extends her heartfelt gratitude to all those who contributed to the success of the event.
I feel great. I feel fulfilled. Because as a mother, it is the wish of every mother to see her son, getting married. And Adamu is of age, is a man, and we feel he should have a wife.
From all indications, the wedding of the Vice President's children recorded a string of firsts in many respects. How does the Vice President himself feel about the whole thing?
I feel extremely gratified. I feel extremely appreciative of the gesture, done by my friends and well-wishers and associates. It is not easy to come to Yola. Even though Yola is very well connected by air, we have one of the best airports, but not many airlines come to Yola. It's a difficult place to come, and yet you can see we are overwhelmed with visitors. I cannot thank them enough for their generosity of time and friendship.
The BC Olatilo show heartily congratulates the Vice President's family for the success of the wedding of their